Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. Unless you are new, then welcome for the first time. I like to make these videos about films that I enjoy and want to share. Just a simple, I like this, maybe you will too if you're looking for something to check out. Very simple, just sharing what I like rather than bashing what I don't. And for this entry, I did a trip back to the 70s for the 1977 film, The Sentinel. Now, this one stars Christina Rains, Chris Sarandon, and so many others who just kind of pop in, particularly ones who, I got to know later in their careers and having some kind of small roles in this one, such as Christopher Walken, Jeff Goldblum, and Beverly D'Angelo. There are even some even smaller appearances by Richard Dreyfuss. I believe he's just an extra in one of these scenes, Nana Visitor from Star Trek, and even Tom Berenger, just for some very, very small roles, very early in their career. But what is this film about? Well, the synopsis is as follows. A young woman moves into an apartment in a building which houses a sinister evil. So, very short, kind of lacking any detail, but you get it. Sinister evil in this building. But let's get a little bit more detail on this. Non-spoiler, of course. So, with this one, when our lead, Allison, moves into this building, she notices this old man a few floors up from her sitting at the window. It's explained that he's this old blind priest who, gets checked in on by the church every now and then, but to pay him no mind. He just kind of sits there looking out the window. We're situated there even though he's blind, but not to worry about it. But very shortly afterward, she starts having these strange issues, insomnia, some strange dreams, severe fainting spells, dizziness, hearing noises that weren't really there, and kind of like these borderline hallucinations before things get worse and worse. And throughout this, she begins kind of meeting her neighbors as well while she's going through all of that. One of which is being played by Burgess Meredith, who you may know from Rocky, among various other works, who has this little parakeet and a cat in tow with him. He's like very eccentric, but very friendly and everything. She also meets this lesbian couple, one of which is played by Beverly D'Angelo, who seem a bit promiscuous, and they definitely make her feel, let's just say, extremely uncomfortable. But while this neighbor, played by Meredith, is, seems nice and everything, there is still something strange about him. All of the ones that she's been meeting, actually. She's even invited to a birthday party for this guy's cat, where she meets some previous tenants and other people in the building. But with all of them, there's something that's just a little bit off, and it seems to be getting stranger and stranger, and it seems to be calling into question who these people are, and did she actually meet them, or just hallucinate or dream the entire thing. Throughout all of this, her boyfriend, played by Chris Sarandon, is trying to kind of help her through it, and as her issues are starting to progress, and there's this kind of mystery that's now unfolding about this apartment. Her symptoms are getting worse and worse and even more strange, and she begins to deteriorate, possibly to the point of taking her own life, which she had attempted previously, as we see in a flashback towards the beginning of the film, regarding her father, some stuff in her past that she had tried to take her own life. Now, I am trying to stay, as vague as possible on this to just not really spoil much, and only going in with what I've heard about this beforehand. So, just that there's something in this apartment which is being watched over by this Sentinel, the blind priest. And the mystery about what exactly that is, who the priest is, and what our lead Allison has to do with any of this, that's all going on while there's also this investigation being opened regarding the people that she's met. The names of the people she says she's met, and even stuff about her boyfriend is being called into question, stuff about his past that's being investigated. Now, we have a lot going on here, and things do get kind of jumbled here and there. That amount of stuff is going to get a bit jumbled, because there's even points during some of the slower points of the film where it seemed to take a little bit too long to get from one aspect to another, or you're kind of too far away from one thing that's being investigated where you kind of forget what's happening. So it did get kind of mixed up here and there, especially towards the end. There was a spot where I had to kind of rewatch it, like rewind it, rewatch that part to kind of understand what was being revealed to us. But still, overall, it works pretty well. As I think I mentioned in the videos that I did about The Omen last year, religious horror has always creeped me out a bit, since it's based on something kind of bigger than us. Whether you are a believer or not, it's grounded in a belief system. That whole idea of what if all of this that we've been being told is real, feeling that makes it kind of more scary somehow, that there's some link there. And not only did I feel that way during the Omen films, but during The Exorcist as well. And even though this one didn't do that well, and I seem to receive it a bit better than a lot of other people, the more recent film Lords of Salem, they just kind of freak me out. Anything with that religious angle. But specifically in this time period, that 60s and 70s kind of look, that look and feel, the way that they told the stories is something that I've really been enjoying as I've kind of gone back to check out some older content. As some of your longtime subscribers may remember, I went through a bunch of Hammer films about 2 or 3 years ago. I'd started that up, going from like 1958 to about 77. It opened me up to some of the different styles that were used back then. There are still aspects of the 60s color that I enjoy, and the overall look and feel of the 70s, that have their own different look, but it's just similar that it's something different than what I normally see. I love the way that they're shot, and I always find myself returning to it. And films like The Exorcist and Salem's Lot, Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, Amityville, and now The Sentinel are ones which really kind of shine for me, and I'll definitely be returning to. Now, coming back to the story of this film, of course, working back to that religious angle, it brings that spook factor in full force. And in that one can't just outrun this problem. She's deteriorating. The mystery's unfolding, and it's very uncomfortable. But I was glued to the story to see where it goes. I needed to see what the result was. And this is with me already kind of knowing what that priest is guarding, because I'd overheard it mentioned twice, I think, on that Colors of the Dark podcast. Now, I have mentioned that podcast here before, and I can't recommend it enough. And not because I agree with all of their opinions on film. There are times where, for instance, with the most recent Wolfman, they really didn't seem to care for it, and I did. They had a little bit of a lower opinion on Nosferatu, but it's the why behind it when they discuss what works and what didn't in these films. It really gets me caught up, where by the end of an episode, my watch list has kind of been built out even more. And this film had actually come up recently, and then also I was listening to an older episode as well that it also came up. And deservedly so. This is one that's just slathered with religious horror. Our poor lead having these issues involving the previous attempts at taking her own life, trying to get settled into this new place, trying to work as a model, all while things are getting worse, getting more confusing. But by the time all these bits and pieces of this weird religious horror mystery are kind of put together by the end, it's more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this quick little video here for the Sentinel, which at the time of this video is on AMC Plus and Shudder, as well as paid rental. Definitely worth to watch. Definitely a kind of creepy one to check out. But yeah, that's all I got for this one, I guess. Thanks for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.